look also than the Australians. First time on the podium for them in their history. Chad Reed from Australia, who wins in race 1. But this time it was Jet Lawrence, the open class rider, who was victorious for Australia.
The first time I got selected, it's always special as a rider. It kind of signifies, you know, you wanted the best in your country, and to represent Australia for that first time was really special. So that was in 2006 when I first got the call up, and it was pretty easy. I think the most memorable moment, probably just finishing third, which is something that myself and Chad, and I'd done it a lot with Berner, and we'd always wanted to get on the podium, and we've always felt like we were a top 3 team. And
I think being on the podium was something that we always belonged there. So many years that I believed that we should have been there. Like Andrew McFarlane, Michael Byrne, and myself. The fact that we never stood on the podium is so ridiculously frustrating, because the 3 of us very much deserved that, and we never got to share that moment, you know. Like those guys were 2 of my friends, you know, my best friends for a long time, and obviously we lost Andrew, and so with knowing where we stand today with those 2 guys, I always feel that there was a void that, you know, something that we should have always gotten done, but we didn't. We always fell short. So
finally in 2011, in France, Saint-Jean-d'Angely, we finally got over the hump and finished third. And it was actually funny, like Matt Moss had a DNF, so he missed the moto, and it left no room for error at that stage. We had to come through, and Chad won a moto, and I had 2 consistent results.
Matt Moss was our MX2 rider. I believe it was an electronic issue that we had with the bike, and we're kind of sitting there, and I had given up the first pick to Matt, and I was going to take, let's say, the 23rd pick. And anyway, I'm sitting there kind of waiting on him, and then it's kind of like, okay, and then the guy's just like basically told me I have to go to the gate because he's not. So then I go to the gate not even knowing, and I kind of just was like, oh great, well I have to do really well in this race because my teammate ain't even gonna make the moto. And I was lucky I went on to win the moto. Pulled a little bit of a maneuver like that in the second one. So basically how you line up, you know, the guy comes along and basically points to you to go. And so it's kind of tradition that we line people up in that order. And I had said, well, let's change that up a little bit, because there isn't a rule that you have to be in that position, and if you're in that position, you go first to the gate. Let's somewhat make everybody think that I'm going to take the second pick. So basically Caroli, Dungey, or Villapoto, I think it was Dungey at the time, had kind of like followed what we were doing, and because we picked after them, they had already committed, and so then when it come to me, I just rode off, and you could see like Dunge and, you know, and Caroli and those guys like, where's he going? Like, why is he going to the first gate pick? I got a pretty decent start, and you know, fought up front, and that was what allowed us to get on the podium that particular day.
Well, I suppose the very first memory was in '84 in Varberg in Sweden, that team effort where we got together and we did the best we could, and probably the highlight of that was nearly hole shotting into the first corner beside the current world champion, Georges Jobet, at the particular time, and that was a highlight for me. And then after that, being a member of the team, seeing Jeff Leask and Glenn Bell, Craig Dack do so well, another really good highlight was in '86 at Maggiora in Italy. Craig finished second behind Ricky Johnson, and Ricky Johnson was renowned to be one of the best in the world at that time. He clearly won that moto, but Craig was second. And you know, I was there, right there at that time, and Craig has been a very good friend of mine for a long time, and we've done a lot together. And to see him cross the line in second place and being so overjoyed with what he did was just really special.
Yeah, I remember that race vividly. My career, because it's nearly 40 years ago now, so a lot of things are fuzzy, a lot of things I have no recollection of, and some things stand out very strongly. And that race stands out really strongly for me. It was such a big deal. The track was amazing. I remember walking the track with David Armstrong and Glenn Bell, my two teammates, and we got to the elevator, the drop off, and we stood there and went, oh my God, you know, we've never seen anything like it. The track was all grassed over. If you look at some of the old vision, the track was just lined with people 5 deep. There was a huge amount of people there. The first race, I remember something happened to my rear brake on the bike, it broke, and I finished respectably in that race, but I can't remember where, but I had a hard time because of the rear brake. Then the second race, I just could have rode all day. I just had one of those, you know, it was two lines then, two starting positions. The 500s were off the front and the 250s were off the rear. So off we went, and you know, I tracked down a bunch of riders, I passed a lot of people. So David Bailey won that race on the 500. Ricky Johnson was second on the 250. Dave Thorpe, who just won the World Championship on the 500 the week before, was third, outright this is. And I was coming up on him and caught him by about 10 seconds, and he just got me over the finishing line. So I finished fourth in that race, but second in the class, and it was a real standout ride for me, which I'll never forget.
I've had a couple of pretty good nations. Obviously 13 was cool. I pulled a couple of hole shots, went really good there. 16 was also really cool in Maggiore, Italy. Qualified third in the MX3 class in that race, which was pretty cool. I think I got like fourth in Moto 1, which was equal to my best. So that was a wicked weekend. And then then there's a few moments that were like pretty tough at nations. Like in 19, it was just a quagmire. It's wet and it's sandy and it's cold. But man, yeah, probably those two races.
Probably my first one at Madley Basin in 17 was probably the best. Just we went there. The track was perfect on Saturday. You definitely couldn't have got any better conditions. Like, it was just, the track was so tacky. It just wanted to pull you each direction. So I had some really good results there as well. So yeah, Madley Basin was awesome for me, and just such a cool experience. And yeah, they're definitely something that I'll never forget.
We're moving into a new era now where the guys last year finished third, and they've equaled the best result Australia's had, and I'm proud to be a part of that team that did it. But it's going to be broken here soon. I mean, and I'm stoked for Team Australia, and it just shows we're strong, you know, and the country can produce riders of world stage caliber. But I think, man, 2023, man, it's going to be a strong team, and there's no reason why they can't run top 3 and contend to win this year. So it's pretty exciting.